Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay in Baltimore. In the aftermath of the Trump victory, a lot of people are trying to piece together what happened, who's responsible for those people who aren't happy about the Trump victory. People are trying to dissect what went wrong. Well, I said during our live broadcast last night that I think one of the culprits, if one sees this as not a good thing, the Trump victory, one of the culprits in this are most of the major trade unions. And it's not just that they supported Clinton during the primaries and did not support Sanders. It goes deeper and broader than that. And that's part of what we're going to discuss with our next guest. Now joining us from San Francisco, California, is Michael Lighty. He's Director of Public Policy for the National Nurses United and the California Nurses Association. He served on the Oakland Planning Commission, and he was the first openly LGBTQ commissioner for the Port of Oakland. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you, Paul.
So what I was saying is that not only did they play this ultra-conservative card of backing Hillary, and if you talk to them, their main theory for doing this was that, well, Hillary can beat Trump and Sanders can't. Well, how's that working for you guys? But my critique of them goes deeper in that. One is, first of all, their allegiance and ties to the corporate Democrats, and in reality, their alliance with the neoliberal economics of the Clintons and Obama administration. But even more than that, the reluctance to not only not organize more vigorously amongst the unorganized and get into sections of the working class that are being influenced by Trump, but not even educating their own members very much. You go talk to many unionized places. I have a thing when I go into restaurants or hotels or other places that are unionized, grocery stores. Often people can't even tell you the name of their union. Never mind, are they being educated in some political way? I've been on picket lines of strikes being organized by major unions. In the midst of a strike, the picketers don't even know what's going on in their own strike. There's so little actual communication, education going on. Now, Michael, you're with the National Nurses Union, and you, the communication workers, the transit, and the communication. What did I miss? There are four of you that supported Sanders. So I'm not including you in this because you guys are pretty active. But what do you make of a lot of the blame here goes to the unions that play this, cozy relationship with the corporate Democrats?
Right. Well, one thing we know, Paul, is that had the unions that ended up working hard for Secretary Clinton endorsed Bernie and gotten out there early for him, he would have gotten the AFL-CIO endorsement, and he would have had, as the most pro-labor candidate to ever run for president, he would have actually had the labor movement behind him. So we know that was possible and didn't happen because those unions decided that Bernie Sanders wasn't electable, as you say. And in fact, what happened was that in Ohio, a majority of the union members voted for Donald Trump. In Michigan, it looks like a majority of the union members are voting for Donald Trump. And that has a long tail, and the AFL-CIO and the unions have been very successful in past elections in getting those union members to move toward the Democratic nominee. That we started in 2008. Obama didn't have a majority of union members when he started, and they moved him. So they figured they could keep doing that. But the problem is the game is up. The jig is up. That workers understand that this, after another 8 years of a Democratic president, when there was more trade agreements, loss of more manufacturing jobs, apart from what happened during the Great Recession, this jig is up for many workers. And so they're clearly not able to move, the unions are not able to move their members in the way that they had in past elections. And in fact, there was a candidate who was speaking to a lot of these insecurities that result from globalization and injustice, and that resonated without a really strong response back. So where we do, I think, find the labor movement with a great share of responsibility for what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I was hearing labor leaders, presidents of unions talking to their members, defending what really is not defendable. They're defending the status quo, defending these, frankly, the 8 years of the Obama administration and the years of the Clinton administration, One leading to deregulation and creating these enormous economic bubbles that then burst eventually in '07, '08, and then defending managing of the '07, '08 crash that was totally in favor of the wealthy and the big banks. And they become the defenders of the status quo, the union leaders, because they have to defend their political allies. And the one thing they were promised by Obama, the Employee Free Choice Act, EFCA, right. The thing that Sweeney told me that, I'll eat my shoe before I'm so sure that Obama will get this passed. Yeah. When they control both houses, they don't even offer it up. And then still, they go have tea at the White House and get feted there, and they come back with stars in their eyes, even though they walk away with nothing.
That's right. So, and from all that, Paul, this is, you can easily see the view that the system is rigged against workers. And here's a guy who's saying that, who's calling it out, and who knows the system. So you can kind of understand it. I think you have to overlook quite a bit to get there with Trump. But given the actual situation of a lot of these folks, really in dire straits economically, or certainly believe that the future looks bleak for them, you can see without a strong, politically educated, vital labor movement that's out there saying, no, here's an alternative program. We're going to fight. We're going to fight capital that's taking your jobs. We're going to fight the 1% that's responsible, who's gotten all the income and wealth since the Great Recession. A really strong class-based fight-back program was called for, and it wasn't there, and I think we paid a price for it.
Is there any hope now that some of these labor union leaders who were in the Clinton camp, their worst fears have been realized? Right. The strategy clearly has blown up in their face. Now what do you think's going to happen in the inner councils of the AFL-CIO?
Well, I don't know. They were all geared up for, a victory parade tomorrow, or at least meetings with, the new administration. And instead, it's about, we've got to make sure that people have hope. That's kind of the word that I've heard, that's been getting out from labor leaders, is we still got to have hope. And
well, a lot of them are very good with a lot of empty rhetoric going.
Exactly, it's all rhetoric. That's the problem, Paul. And there's even the notion that, hey, American democracy worked. Well, I don't think American democracy worked. I think it was overwhelmed by corporate money, by deep pocket money, by Koch brother money in particular. And that election was as corrupted by money as maybe more than any we've seen. So I don't think that we're hearing the right thing. I think what we need to hear is that the system is broken, politics as usual has failed us, the solutions of corporate labor management partnerships don't work, that the working folks in this country have paid the price for bad decisions by economic elites and the 1% specifically. So I think those are the kind of messages we need to hear, and hopefully we will. But the public employee unions in particular, all unions face an existential threat now with the potential for national right to work legislation. So the only thing the labor movement has to rely on is its members, and that's a good thing if we're able to educate and mobilize them.
Now, your union was very active in supporting Bernie Sanders, very active in what some people called an insurgency within the Democratic Party. I always saw this as an insurgency that in the final analysis could not win in the Democratic Party because the money that controls that party, I think, would have either fled or, if we learned about some rigging in WikiLeaks, there would have been far more rigging if Sanders actually was on the verge or about to win. That being said, it's one of the biggest breakthroughs that's happened in a state-allied institution in a long time. So you were very active in this. What do you think happens next? I mean, when I talked to you guys in Chicago at a conference you organized, there was a lot of talk about focusing on 2018. And if it was a Clinton presidency, even discussing the possibilities of one-term president and what a primary might look like in 2020, have you guys had time to start thinking about all this?
Well, we still have a vision 2020, and that vision is a vision of social and economic justice rooted in solidarity. And and collective action. And so that vision that animated the People's Summit still exists. I think that what we need to do, and in fact, this result enables us to do convincingly, is expunge Clintonism, expunge neoliberalism from the Democratic Party and from the body politic. And that's really what the Bernie movement represents. And there are young people, as we speak, Paul, there is a walkout of students in Oakland, high schools. Started in Berkeley, a walkout of students in Berkeley. This young generation is not going to
walkout over what?
Over Trump's election.
Was that right? In protest of the election?
Yeah, over Trump's election. And this is not a generation that's going to stand by and let this Congress and the fossil fuel industry destroy their prospects for health. It's not going to happen. The climate crisis is going to overwhelm us unless we address it directly. And this young generation understands that. So I think that's where it goes. That this is a movement moment greater than we had anticipated even, and that the only response to an attack that would repeal the Affordable Care Act, as inadequate as it is, we need to replace it with a guaranteed health care, Medicare for all. If we're going to not pursue the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we need a different global order based on justice. So let's take advantage of the opportunity that this populist opening, though very tainted by xenophobia and racism, has given us. And let's try to get that momentum back for a real justice agenda. I think that's the opportunity we have. It's not easy, and it's not where we want it to be. But it is the opportunity we have, and I think that it's pretty obvious what Naomi Klein and others have said, that neoliberalism has clearly exposed itself, run its course, and the only thing to fight a neo-fascist, potentially neo-fascist government is a strong, real left movement, and that poses an alternative social structure that is based on equality and justice. That's really our opportunity.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us, Michael. Michael's actually coming to Baltimore soon, and we're going to get into this stuff more in depth. You'll see some of that soon. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.